All right. So, let's get to the bad news. So, if you're a woman in Florida and you're pregnant or you think you might be pregnant, until the ballot initiative in November, the referenda, you're screwed. Because Florida's 6 weeks abortion ban is in effect. And it curbs access across the South because apparently most southern states think that women are nothing but walking incubators and should just bear it. But anyway, let's just get right to the article. Starting today, people can no longer access legal abortions in Florida beyond 6 weeks of pregnancy, except in rare circumstances, which we have already seen plenty of examples where those rare circumstances might seem good on paper, but in actuality, it's a pain in the ass. So, the restriction replaces a 15-week ban that's been in effect since July 2022, shortly after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Abortion rights... Okay, pop-up, go away. Abortion rights supporters say it will dramatically curb access to the procedure for thousands of residents in Florida and around the South. Proponents of the ban say it protects life. Except for the woman's life. Apparently, proponents only care about you if you haven't been born yet. But once you're born, well, nobody gives a shit anymore. I mean, seriously, how can you say that you're concerned about life if you're not also concerned about the woman's life, the mother's life? I just don't understand that. I never understood that. Women are life. Why are you saying you're protecting life if you couldn't give a rat's ass what happens to the woman? I mean, you can say, "Oh, we say unless it to prevent the mother dying." Well, great. What about her losing her organs, her being permanently maimed? I mean, does that not matter? Oh, but she's alive, so who cares about the rest of it, right? Seriously. If you don't care about the quality of a person's life. You just care that they're alive. You just care that they're, I don't know, a potential voter. I honestly don't. I get it from a political standpoint to do that because there are more bodies to potentially vote for you. But what about the regular people who, I mean, what is their reasoning for caring about just the quantity of life as opposed to quality? I just don't understand that. Anyway, moving on. Voters will have a say on the matter in November when a proposal to enshrine abortion rights into the state constitution will appear on the election ballot. Regardless of what happens this fall, the ban could have far-reaching effects. So, I don't know if the ballot initiative would succeed. I don't know when it would take effect, but other states that are typically conservative have all enshrined abortion into the Constitution, or at least didn't enshrine a ban on in the Constitution. So there's a very good chance that this is going to work out well for women in Florida. All right. Opponents of the ban stress that many people don't realize they are pregnant at 6 weeks. Exactly. But again, it has nothing to do with life, it's all about control. We've already figured this one out. But for those that do, abortion services remain available in the state until that time frame. So I guess if you're one of those who can figure out you're pregnant before 6 weeks, you're golden. But unfortunately, that's not most women. All right. Abortion care providers in the state, like Planned Parenthood, are doing ultrasounds earlier and have extended their hours to accommodate as many patients as they can. We want to be able to help everyone with information in order to access care as quickly as possible, says Barbara why can't I say that? Zdrecki. Oh my God. Yes, Zdrecki. Oh my God. Why does my tongue not work? Interim CEO, Planned Parenthood of Southwest and Central Florida. Still, she expects many patients will be too far along when they reach out for help. Of course, because it's 6 weeks. Most women don't know they're pregnant, so yeah, of course it would be too late. The emotional turmoil that's going to happen, the anger, the fear, the anxiety, is going to be great. She said, I'm not going to try that name again. Who adds centers are ramping up support staff to respond to patients' concerns and help them navigate their options. Like going out of state. Far, far out of state, but adding to scheduling challenges are Florida's 24-hour mandatory waiting period and a ban on using telemedicine for abortions, because we want to make it as hard as we possibly can for people to access who need abortions to access it. Because again, this is not about protecting life, it is about control. Patients have to attend 2 in-person appointments, one for a consultation and another for a procedure, at least 1 day later. So, in other words, you have to literally know you're pregnant when less than 6 weeks, because you need plenty of time to have those 2 appointments. So that makes it even harder for women to access the care they need. All right. Florida joins 11 other states in the South that have already severely restricted abortion in recent years, either with 6-week bans or total bans. Residents in those places have relied on Florida to access the procedure. And I'd like to point out that, is it really a difference, 6 weeks ban and total ban? Because the window is so small for women to fulfill the requirements of the 2 appointments of this and that. And, by then they could easily get past that window. So how is it really much different than a total ban? It really isn't. Out-of-state residents fueled a steady increase in abortions in Florida despite the 15-week ban. Nearly 8,000 people traveled to the state last year for abortions, according to data from the State Agency for Healthcare Administration. That's nearly 10% of all patients. Now, let's look at this. Since those of you who are anti-choice, let's look at it from an economic perspective. Those bodies are coming to Florida. Chances are they are not just getting an abortion and skipping town because it's a medical procedure. Usually you do not, you don't go on long distance trips right after a medical procedure. I mean, I'm sure some people are perfectly fine and can do it, but I would think most people, even if it is outpatient, you want to, not do anything like flee the state. So they need a hotel room. They probably will go out and get something to eat. They might buy something to make if they're staying at a hotel that has a little kitchenette, they might want to make something. This is helping your economy. Why are you jeopardizing that? Then again, Ron DeSantis is your governor, who thinks that that getting tough on immigration is not going to have a major impact on his economy, as all the fruit in the state rot, because it's actually migrants that are picking the fruit, the very people that Ron DeSantis is threatening. So he's not an economic genius. So that probably never occurred to him. Anyway, and a lot of other governors who think that bans on abortion is a great idea. Anyway, out-of-state residents, whoops, read that already. We don't want to be an abortion tourism destination, Governor Ron DeSantis said last fall. Why not? Because again, if you do that, it helps your economy. You would think that would be a good thing. Florida is no longer an option for the rest of the region. North Carolina allows abortions until 12 weeks of pregnancy, but has a 72-hour mandatory waiting period with in-person requirements. So it isn't always a viable alternative. I would say it's not, you could just get rid of the always. It isn't always. It isn't a viable alternative because North Carolina has put so many burning hoops to make it darn near impossible to get your procedure in that amount of time. So, granted, it's not quite as bad as the 6-week ban, but it's just bad. Instead, advocates that help people access abortions are advising them to travel further to places like Virginia, Illinois, or Washington, D.C. That will become increasingly difficult if clinics in states with expanded abortion access struggle to accommodate the influx of patients. That is awesome. Think about it. You're in Florida, and you have to go at best to Virginia or Washington, D.C. But Illinois? Are you kidding me? I think I need to bring up a map of the U.S. Let me... Okay. I'm just clicking on some map. Why aren't you... Oh, you have got to be kidding me. I did not want to go to Amazon. All right. Let me pick you. All right. So here we are in Florida. Right here. Whoopsies. So here we are in Florida. And your best bet is to go up here. And here is the star is Washington, D.C. That is your best bet. Otherwise, you have to go all the way up here to Illinois. Now, seriously tell me that this makes a lick of sense. I realize that airplanes exist. It's not like you have to take a bus or drive. So that cuts down on time. But why are we doing this? That is not something... I know I heard one schmuck say that, just get a bus ticket. You're going on vacation. No, you're not. You're stressing out about a pregnancy you either do not want or can't have for whatever medical reason, financial reason, whatever the reason is, you just cannot be pregnant right now. And that's all you're thinking about. This is not a vacation. This is the same type of logic of people who say that, you know, it, if you just sit back and enjoy the rape. I mean, because the whole concept of rape is you don't want it, which is somehow lost on these idiots. So, same concept, as far as I'm concerned. All right. We're estimating about 90% of our callers are going to need to go out of state, and that we'll have a large increase in callers because this is going to be a whole new cost for people seeking abortions, says McKenna Kelly, a volunteer board member with the Tampa Bay Abortion Fund. Abortion funds can help pregnant people cover the cost of abortion procedures and relieve some of the logistical challenges associated with seeking care. But paying for flights, hotel stays, and other expenses associated with long-distance travel is much more challenging than giving someone a ride to a nearby clinic. Of course it is. First, you have to find a flight that suits your needs. You have to find a hotel. And who knows what else you have to do. And it's not easy. And airlines are trying to really, really bilk people of their money because they're greedy fucks who, figure that, oh yeah, we're making a profit. Let's see how much we can squeeze out of these people. So, yeah. And a lot of these people who are desperately needing an abortion are probably low income, if not downright in poverty. So, it's not like they have the money to spend on this to begin with. So, yeah. While what Kelly calls rage donations poured in from supporters angry about the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization decision 2022, abortion funds say Florida's recent ban hasn't been met with the same response. Organizers fear they won't be able to help everyone in need, but say funds are working together to form a stronger support network around the country. I wonder how much of this happens to be because it's not a total ban. So somehow the fact that some abortions are allowed makes people less angry, even though those who are in the know know enough that they should be angry about this. But a lot of people probably see anything like this, that we're going to save for rare circumstances, we're going to save for at a certain week. And a lot of people are probably like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. Because they don't fully understand. They just know that women should have access. But they don't understand when they should have access. Because they don't understand things like most women don't know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. Or that the burning hoops that women would have to go through even if they qualified under the law for an abortion under these rare circumstances. They have to prove to lawyers, not doctors, lawyers, that they qualify. And what did lawyers not do? They didn't go to medical school. So who are they to say? They don't know. Again, Kate Cox is calling. Even with assistance, travel may not be an option for some people, which means they may choose to self-manage their abortions or carry unwanted pregnancies to term. And by self-manage, I'm going to say clothes hanger abortions, which I didn't think you could do on yourself, but, unscrupulous people might be willing to take advantage of that. They did before. This truly is an American healthcare crisis, said Stravecki. Oh wow, I said it. With Planned Parenthood. I finally said her name. Yay! All right. Of course, I love this. Supporters of the ban suggest pregnancy centers that oppose abortions as alternatives. Yeah. No. The point of places like Planned Parenthood is that they give you all your options, not just the ones that you particularly like. Because contrary to the popular belief of anti-choicers, those in the pro-choice camp aren't happy about having an abortion. They're not thrilled about it. They would rather they didn't need one either. They just know that they need one. So to go to a clinic that doesn't give that as an option, not good. They want to have all their options. Anybody in any medical situation would want all their options, not just the options that they think are nice or that they don't find morally dubious. Because not everybody does, or some people just are desperate and they need it. So it's not for anyone else to say what option is best for a particular person in any situation, not just abortion. And why is it that only with abortion are people so hung up on what medical choices women are allowed to be given? Anyway, hope somewhere that made sense. Opponents of abortion rights in Florida advocated for the state's 6-week ban and have also been gearing up for its implementation. Oh, I'm sure they have. Our position is we need to protect unborn children. We need to celebrate life. Protect life. That's the chief role of government, says John Sternberger, president of the Liberty Council Action, a religious liberty organization that supports abortion bans. Again, people are talking about the unborn child, but nobody seems to give a flying fuck about the pregnant person, usually a woman. Nobody cares about them because they're just walking incubators and not actually life, not actually human, not actually a person, whatever term you want to use. They see women as less than. They're just property. They're just a way to procreate. So, yeah. The group has been briefing the nearly 200 crisis pregnancy centers in Florida about the law and how to prepare for a potential increase in demand for services, he says. Of course. I don't know how they can prepare because they already don't offer abortion they don't even mention abortion, so what do they need to prepare for? If the option they never gave is suddenly not available, I just don't see what they need to prepare for. I mean, the influx, yeah, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people going to these crisis centers because mainly you guys try to bamboozle people into thinking you're a legit organization like Planned Parenthood because, you try to help women through pregnancies. And if this woman never in a million years would ever choose abortion no matter what, then fine. She's free to go to these organizations because I'm sure they provide very good care outside of that fact. But if you're someone who wants literature, wants information about getting an abortion because you think that you need one, or that you think you might need one, or whatever. And they're not going to give it to you because that isn't their goal. So yeah, it's not comparable to Planned Parenthood in that regard, because Planned Parenthood and organizations like it give you all your options. But now in the state of Florida, abortion, not really an option anymore. So these centers are usually run by faith-based organizations. They encourage pregnant women not to get abortions and to consider parenting or adoption instead. They sometimes offer free ultrasounds or baby supplies, which is great. Because let's face it, one of the reasons why women choose to have an abortion is because of the cost. They cannot afford to have a baby. And contrary to some belief, I can't say popular belief because I'm really hoping that this post I saw was an aberration, but some people think that having a baby is free. No, the hospital does bill you for their services. They don't just say, "Oh, it was a pregnancy, so yeah, it's free." No, they charge you. So that you have to pay for if you take I don't know, Lamaze class or whatever you need to prepare for the birth, whatever you need after the baby is born if you choose to keep said baby. This all, I mean, I'm sure that even adoption agencies, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of a fee to put their baby up for adoption. I don't know that for a fact, but it would not surprise me. So, no, having a baby is not free. And unless you're in a situation where you're looking for someone to adopt the baby while you're still pregnant, I guess you could set some sort of requirement that they would pay for the birth and any other appointments and whatever else they need in the pregnancy. I mean, maybe that's a thing. But for the most part, no, they're not free. So anyway, we really want to appeal to young mothers or even older mothers who are in what we'd consider a crisis pregnancy to basically think differently about the issue, says Sternberger. They make it sound like women and their doctors just went straight to abortion and didn't think about any of the other issues. No, you guys are not this beacon of light in this dark world where, you have to save women from themselves. Number one, that's insulting to women. And number two, that isn't what's happening. It's not like, oh, you're having a crisis pregnancy. Yep, abortion. No, that isn't how it works. The law that imposes the 6-week abortion ban also increased funding for pregnancy centers to $25 million, up from roughly $4 million in 2022. Yep, that shouldn't surprise me. Some crisis pregnancy centers have been known to provide people with misleading or inaccurate medical information. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that part. There have also been calls for more oversight. They do give myths about what happens when you have an abortion. So they give you bullshit about what an abortion is. All the propaganda you see of a picture of the fetus, and this is a picture of what happens during an abortion. That's the kind of shit that the crisis pregnancy centers do, because they want to scare women into not having an abortion. And they have to do it by making shit up, because they know that otherwise, if they gave them, medical facts, that women might just opt for an abortion because of circumstance, because it's not your decision. Planned Parenthood does not steer women towards abortion. They give you the fact, and it is up to you and whichever loved one you want to have a part of this discussion to decide for yourselves which option is the best. This is not comparable. And it's annoying when they make up shit. Adoption services in the state are also preparing to support more birth mothers who may choose that option. Well, yeah, I'm sure that the adoption system is going to explode, not just in Florida, but in many other states, because, well, okay, I don't want to actually be a mother, so let's put the baby up for adoption. Orphanages and foster system is already overcrowded. What do you think this is going to do? This is just going to make it so much worse. So, if we were in a situation where adoptions and foster care was running smoothly, and that we weren't in such dire straits in that system, then okay, maybe, yes, that's a legit option. But so many children age out of the system because they were never adopted. They weren't put into foster care because there aren't enough foster parents. There aren't enough people who want to adopt. So I just do not see this ending well for the child. Florida's 6-week ban includes exceptions for some vulnerable communities and when a mother or fetus's life is in danger. Vulnerable communities. I hope they elaborate on that. But when a mother or fetus's life is in danger, I guess that's pretty vague, because what do you determine as life is in danger? Does that mean near death? Does that mean we'll lose their uterus? Because let's face it, some of these abortions that happen are to actually save their reproductive organs so they could potentially have children in the future. So what does life in danger mean? Yes, I'm well aware. I know what it means. It means on your deathbed. But I'm just saying, someone could really play semantics with that. Survivors of rape, incest, or human trafficking can access abortions until 15 weeks of pregnancy under the new law. Well, still not good enough, but okay, that's better than otherwise, all right. But it mandates they provide documentation, such as a police report or a medical report, and providers may be obliged to report the crime in some cases. Are you freaking kidding me? They went through a trauma and they need a doctor's note? Seriously. That is the last thing on their freaking minds. They just want that fetus gone. What the hell? And providers may be obliged to report the crime? Well, I guess that not all rape or incest survivors are willing to report the crime, whether it be for fear of reprisal, or in the case of incest, well, maybe, they're a willing party. They just happen to know that Incest babies, not good. So who knows? And human trafficking, yeah, that I could see that, that's not something that they would want to advertise for, again, fear. So I can see that one. It's still kind of ick, though. Many survivors don't feel safe or comfortable reporting assaults, says Stephanie Lorraine Pinheiro, executive director of the Abortion Fund Florida Access Network. She calls their requirements unrealistic and incredibly cruel. I've I've heard about rape kits and the proceed. Oh my God, these hiccups, and the procedures women have to go through to in a hospital to fully report a rape, and a lot of women feel re-traumatized after that, and now they have to go through this of reporting. Now, granted, it's the right thing to do. They should report, but that should be on their own time because, well, trauma. As with the previous 15-week ban, there are exceptions to save the pregnant person's life or avert substantial and irreversible bodily harm. Oh, so that means that if they're about to lose their organs, they can have an abortion. As opposed to, yeah, we had to do a hysterectomy because, they couldn't do an abortion. So, yeah, I guess that's better. It's definitely better than Idaho's ban, but ooh. Still, that's again not the law should have nothing to do with this. Patients can also access abortion until the third trimester if physicians detect the fetus has a fatal abnormality. Again, all these exceptions sound great on paper, but I just can't stop thinking about Kate Cox. On paper, she should have been allowed to have an abortion. And she was not allowed. The Supreme Court said she couldn't do it, that she still hasn't proven that she needed an abortion to their standards. This should not be happening to women. Yes, if the physician is the one who gets to has the last word on this, fine. That should be the way it is. But that's not how this is going to work. People, I don't know, a vindictive family member or, someone who's just walking down the hall, who knows, might hear about the abortion and decide they're going to screw this person's life. And maybe I've been watching way too many dramas, and they might, turn this person in for having an abortion and claim that, oh, they didn't really need it. And then what is a woman supposed to do? I mean, I wouldn't trust the law to understand any of this. All right. But some good news. On the same day that it upheld the 15-week ban, which allowed the 6-week ban to go into limited effect, the Florida Supreme Court also allowed a proposal to enshrine abortion rights in the state constitution to remain on the November ballot. It's as if they can't decide. It's as if the Florida Supreme Court is bipolar. They can't decide what they want to be. Flippin' assholes towards women or the voice of reason. Because, yes, the 6-week ban has gone into effect, but voters will have their say in November, which, as I mentioned before, plenty of conservative states have put the issue on the November ballot and have put it on the ballot and only to have abortion enshrined in the Constitution because most people want it. They know that this should be an issue decided between a woman and her doctor and not some legislature in God knows where. So, if passed, Amendment 4 would allow abortion access in Florida until fetal viability, which is usually around 24 weeks, or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. Which sounds reasonable. I mean, again, I'm not thrilled with any cutoff, but it is fetus viability, which is eminently reasonable. I mean, that's how most practices work anyway. Most people do not have abortions later than that, unless they have to, unless it's medically necessary. So, even though I don't like that there's a law dictating it, it is still a hell of a lot better than this war on abortion, because this works with science. This works with what we know how human development works. The fetus isn't viable, so we shouldn't be even questioning. Once the fetus is viable, yes, you can have those questions. So, all right. Supporters and opponents of abortion rights have made it a priority moving forward, as they should. It's critical that we turn out the vote this fall for people to protect their freedoms. The state Supreme Court has basically put this issue in the voters' hands, says Florida House Minority Leader Fentrice Driscoll, a Democrat. Fentrice. Okay. Never heard of that name, but all right. President Joe Biden made abortion the focus of a visit to Tampa last Monday, while Vice President Kamala Harris is scheduled to talk about it in Jacksonville on Wednesday, which is today or next Wednesday. That's unclear. Opponents of the ballot initiative call it a radical no-limits abortion amendment and are campaigning against it. No limits? It's up to fetal viability. What do you mean there's no limits? There is a limit. It's just a limit you do not like. And as for, exceptions, well, this amendment is basically saying doctors should practice medicine and lawyers shouldn't. Again, I fail to see what the problem is. Prop 4, the abortion lobby's dream amendment, I'm going to vomit, is extremely misleading. Your brain is extremely misleading, meaning that you have one, says Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America President Marjorie Dannenfelser, in a statement following President Biden's visit to Tampa. The wording of the proposal was at the heart of the state's legal challenge to the effort. Attorney General Ashley Moody argued it would confuse voters. What? I just read the proposal. It sounds perfectly, as far as amendments go, this is the most plainly stated referenda ever. But in its 4-3 opinion, the state Supreme Court wrote that the proposal was plainly stated in terms that clearly and unambiguously reflect the text of the proposed amendment. Okay, I'm going back. So, let me click on Amendment 4. Okay, let me make this bigger so I can read it. Okay, so this is a summary of what Amendment 4 says. No law shall prohibit penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. Does this confuse anyone? Is anyone questioning what this amendment says? Because it sounds plain to me. I just don't see what they're saying is misleading. The only thing I can think of is that they don't know what fetal viability means. I don't know. But regardless, it's not, I just don't see how it's misleading. All right. The increased attention on the ballot initiative is appreciated, says Megan Jafo, Executive Director of the Chicago Abortion Fund, which has been working with partners in Florida to help patients travel to the Midwest for care. But she worries people may devote all their resources to getting that passed and forget that pregnant people affected by the ban now. I guess that's fair. Because Amendment 4 will be won on the backs of those people, you know it will be won, and people will give birth when they didn't want to, she says. Others, I just do not understand what I just read. Other states have successfully passed ballot initiatives to protect abortion rights, but none had quite as high a threshold as Florida. For Amendment 4 to pass, 60% of voters need to approve it. Oh boy. I know Ohio tried to have an amendment to try and stop abortion rights from being enshrined by wanting to uppity the threshold from 50% to 60%, which failed. So I don't know if that's always been Florida's threshold, or if they did some sort of skullduggery that made this happen. So knowing that they wouldn't be able to, that they would lose out on the abortion issue otherwise. Anyway, I think I've said everything I wanted to say about that. So I will see you guys in the next video.